Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined by Lee Demon-Smith and Martin Official to break down the first match of the day, where ROCCAT defeated the SUPA HOT CREW. Guys, let's take it back to picks and bans. Very well-rounded comp coming out from ROCCAT, a clear plan. You had some question marks. Maybe Selfie could have gone for another champion, but what were your general thoughts? Well,
we were talking about a possible Nidalee pick for Selfie in the mid lane because ROCCAT with the comp had 0 hard engage. You were basically Elise Cocoon and Morgana's Binding. That's everything you have to start a fight, otherwise you can only disengage. So Nidalee would have been able to stand from distance, poke away over and over. However, they picked Orianna because they needed wave clear and because they didn't want 2 weak solo laners when they have Evelynn jungle who needs a bit of time to scale up or scale up as well.
Yeah, I mean, exactly as the man just said. We've talked about it upstairs to great lengths. We were like, why is there not going Nidalee at the same time? But it would have made sense. But as you talked about it, they only had the Dark Binding and the Cocoon. But people getting caught by it.
True.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the early game first off, because day and night difference to the ROCCAT that we've seen. It's a ROCCAT we actually saw in the beginning of the spring split where they knew exactly what to do in that early game, and just very impressed with the way they moved around the map.
Right, so in ROCCAT they were running this fast push comp here, built around Jinx for the tower damage, and then every single champion were ranged. So Elise, of course, goes out of spider form, ranged attack onto towers as well. So as long as you can move around, clear the waves very fast, get to the tower, you will always be able to get some damage onto it. And at the same time, you have Black Shield, you have Lulu to disengage. Like, you have so many options to get away if you get caught in a bad spot.
And they were pretty systematic. I mean, if you look at how they played, bottom turret went down very quickly, straight back to base, straight back, took the mid turret, straight back to base, took the top 2 turrets. 0 reaction from SUPA HOT CREW because they just did it so quick and efficient. It's actually, if you look back, like you say, back to the spring split, this is what they did best. Once they started taking those outer turrets down, they got control of the game. They were happy. If they were put on the back foot, ROCCAT struggled, but this time around, Veggie back in the house now as the coach. Seems to be working well.
Absolutely, and then as I said before, the mid game is something where we struggled, and now we did see the game slowing down once more. When I talked to Jankos, he said, well, we knew what we were doing. We were just waiting for them to come to Baron and finish it out. But what's your guys' take on it?
Well, so all the outer turrets were gone, so obviously they couldn't move fast around. Again, it would be too dangerous to just walk straight up to the base of SUPA HOT CREW and just start hitting the tower, because then the flanking potential of Evelynn and Shyvana around them, so it was a bit too dangerous. Therefore, they were just waiting for a pick with either Elise or Morgana. They got it around the dragon fight where they hit Selfie.
They caught Selfie out, Dark Binding, dead.
Simple as that. Caught him, he died, went straight for Baron, waited just for SUPA HOT CREW to move in, another Binding, another Cocoon, another kill, take the Baron, and from there on, it was pretty easy for them.
But for SUPA HOT CREW, there was a number of questionable fights around the Dragon where they could have come out on top. There was a couple of times where they were chasing down a little bit too long and they got caught out and then went back and forth. Mr. Rallis was collecting up a good few kills around those Dragon fights. And if for that, maybe he would have swung his ray, but they didn't seem to be playing as a team. They kept going individually in there. Mima, we saw him caught out right at the start. From the very beginning level 1 fight, the team didn't really seem to be playing together.
Yeah, and I don't mean to call anybody out, of course, but Selfie also getting caught in that late game, and the Orianna pick, it can work out in the late game if you hit 5 people, but he didn't actually get more than 1 person in most of the fights.
Well, so first of all, they were obviously behind for pretty much the entire game because First Blood, towers going down very fastly, so it's hard for them to get a real team fight. And also the whole idea behind ROCCAT's comp was to never actually get in a real team fight. They never had to go 5 people up and say, okay, engage onto you guys, take the fight. No, they're just waiting for picks left and right. Otherwise, they would always back away, poke a little bit, go in, try and get a pick, back away again. So Orianna pick could never do anything unless they could flank around with Evelynn or Shyvana, put the ball onto one of them, use the shockwave then once they jump into the middle of ROCCAT. But of course, because ROCCAT played so safe, never happened.
And it's a tough time for SUPA HOT CREW because they've just lost 2 games, 2 teams below them in the rankings. We're, of course, going to London next week, so they're going to be traveling, so they've got less time to prepare. It's the worst time to try and hit a slump for SUPA HOT CREW. Luckily for them, everybody in the top has also lost, so they've not lost too much ground just yet.
Good point. Maybe one last thing about ROCCAT. When we talked about them in the pre-show, the things that came up with, they don't really handle lane swaps that well, their mid-game isn't that well, but it seems like they've picked up on all those aspects, so how much can you say about it? It is obviously only 1 game.
Well, I think actually we can say quite a lot because of the moves they made on the map. Just looking back at the early game, where obviously it's the 2 dual lanes up in the top lane against each other, and so Dragon is opposite side of the map. It's very hard to take the Dragon when your dual lane is not there, of course. What ROCCAT did was simply push out the top wave, recall down to bot lane, move the bottom lane there, take the dragon, take the bot tower, at the time where Sasus was level 8, so he was strong enough to actually defend 1v2, therefore he could just teleport top lane against the Super Hot Crew bot lane and just defend everything, and therefore ROCCAT got the lead, and it was just a very good tactical move, and it shows for me ROCCAT has improved.
Absolutely very crisp play from ROCCAT, and as for now, we're going to head back over to Joe and QuickShot at the desk for our next match.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, let's head into our next game as Gambit face off against Millennium.